elaborate on what those programs are and, you know, what's the, you know, I guess maybe 5-year, 10-year plan type thing, that type of stuff. So, and then just, you know, like class size, what's the school's opinion on what class sizes should be? And that's just another question that would be asked, so.
Okay, I guess we'd have to discuss that as a board, you know, if we want to do that or not, and then, yeah, we'd probably want questions, you know, ahead of time so we can make an honest,
right,
informed, you know, answer to you.
Yeah, so, you know, and then maybe you could have a little bit of time for just, you know, if there's some questions on those questions, you know, once you give the answers and stuff like that, so. But we would submit questions to you, and then, you know, maybe we can do it in a public forum, you know, I don't know if you want to do it at the school, or, you know, it'd have to be with all of you there, it'd have to be a board meeting or something to do it legally and stuff like that. So, but that's what we wanted to ask, if we could do something like that.
Okay,
So,
I guess, yeah, let us discuss that, and we'll get back to you, Kevin.
okay.
Because I guess I don't know what all the ramifications are on that either, so let me ask some questions and we'll figure it out. Okay, thank you. Item 6, board items of discussion.
Both A and B on this kind of go together. Shelley and I have been spending a lot of time chasing things that people have dug up on that Google site that had access to it, and we've spent enough time chasing answers down for people to questions that we don't know the answer to because it happened long before we got here. So we shut that down because it's starting to interfere with the job that we have to do instead of things that people want us to be doing. So as of Friday afternoon, I shut that site down to everyone except for the board and the administration. Did some research, talked to the attorney, and generally, once schools get to that point, we do have the ability to charge for the time that we spend chasing down over the records. It has to be reasonable. So I think it's just something we need to discuss at some point. What do you think reasonable is? I think that generally, when they look at reasonable, they look at the hourly rates of the breakdown of hourly rates of the people that are doing the research and copying costs and things like that. So, we haven't been making a lot of copies. It's just more been the time than anything else right now. That turns into part of it. So.
It takes them away from what they should be doing, and spend a lot of time chasing. And like it says, a lot of stuff that they weren't here for, so they're trying to find answers, and it takes a while to dig some of that stuff up.
It's hard for us to talk to what somebody's thought process was on a question from a year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to. I think it depends on the school district and it depends on the circumstances that they're in. I know where I was at before. We charged, I think it was $45 an hour for a public information request from the Des Moines Register. But that was a drawn-out process. It cost them thousands of dollars to get.
So not that we're trying to discourage anybody from asking, but if it's too far back, too in depth, we're spending a lot of time at it. That
we have enough on our plate with budgeting and everything else. So I'll do some research on what other school districts are doing, what their rate is, and bring that back.
Okay. Sounds good. So move on to item 7. Approve the SBRC committee and the certified annual for the CAP. Yeah, correct that.
This is the new form that the SBRC sent to us. It is dramatically different from the one that they sent to us the first time. They were very specific with their directions this time and gave us some guidance on what we needed to do. I spent quite a bit of time on the phone with Tom Cooley, making sure that we were doing what they wanted. There are no numbers put in the SBRC lines there, in the brown lines, because they said not to enter amounts that weren't approved, we don't not to estimate. With the best that we could figure out, with Shelley working back through the budget for this year several times, we believe that with our expenditures and our revenue this year, that we can end this year with an unspent balance of about $114,715, if things go well between now and the end of June. That's always going to be fluid depending on what happens. Big expenditures with less repairs or something like that can throw a big wrench into that. And then with the estimated on fiscal 16, and fiscal 16 is using numbers out of our aid and levy for next year that we've already filled out based on 0% allowable growth from the legislature. We believe that we can end next year with the unspent balance of about $516,241, and that does not include any supplemental growth from the SBRC. The bottom part of this is just a crosswalk from the budget stuff that we worked through, and that's where the numbers up on the top came from. They did have us do miscellaneous income a little bit differently on this than the other ones, so we spent a little time figuring that. One of the things that they had questioned, the biggest thing that they had questioned on the first one, in the response that I got from the DE, was why we were negative last year, had a letter in fiscal 13, and the board hadn't taken any action. Well, I think this shows that the board had taken some action. So from 13 to 14, we reduced 5.3% of the staff. 14 to 15 was only 0.5%, but from this year to next year, we're going to have reduced 8% of the staff, which is 12% of the staff overall from fiscal 13 to the start of next year. And then if you look at the budget, it does the same thing. Almost $7.5 million in 13 to 6.985 in 14, just under 6.8 for this year. And then we're estimating right at 6.4 for fiscal 16, which is a 14% drop overall. And we just need to approve that so I can get the minutes to the DE.
Any questions on those? Now we need a motion to approve. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Opposed the same? So motion carries. Item 8, approve sharing agreement with Clarksville for a business manager.
I would recommend that we continue the 2080 agreement with Clarksville for the business manager.
Any questions on the sharing agreement for the business manager? Now we need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second? All in favor say aye. Opposed the same? So motion carries. Item 9, approve a sharing agreement with Clarksville for the human resources person.
And just like the one before, I would recommend that we approve 2080 with Clarksville for the human resource position. In the future, that will bring us a student count of 5.
Any questions?
That would be not next year, but the following year.
Okay.
5.
Yeah.
That's a year behind.
Yep. We need a motion to approve the sharing agreement for the human resources person. Second? Lord or Gail, take your pick. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same? The motion carries. Item 10, set a budget hearing time and date and a publication for the budget.
Budget has to be published 10 to 20 days before the public hearing. I do not believe at this point that we will have supplemental state aid set by the next board meeting, which is April 13th. I guess I would recommend that we hold the budget hearing at 6:30 p.m. on April 13th at the high school green.
You have questions on that? You need a motion to approve the budget hearing time and date. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same? So motion carries. Item 11, approve the track bids.
We got 3 bids from track, they're broke up in several different ways. We got bids from Heartland Asphalt, Midwest Tennis and Track, and Fisher Track. After discussion with some of the people on the athletic complex committee and looking at the bids, I would recommend that we take the bid from Heartland Asphalt for bid items 1 and 2, which is the track and then the structural spray on top for $360,227.35.
With some of the information that's been presented to us in the last week or so, do we need to, it's been suggested to some of the board members that we possibly need to look at moving the high school to Allison. Do we need to look at moving the track project down here also, or not, or just,
I think that would confuse things.
okay,
We would have to leave it all together.
You're gonna lose over $100,000 worth of grant.
pardon me,
You're gonna lose over $100,000 worth of grants.
if we move it, okay.
Because of the deadlines with those.
This is track. Bid right now, I can approve it, because it will be in time to get the grants.
Yes, yeah, we filed for an extension for a couple of
Okay.
months.
I know we'll get folks on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the bid from Heartland Asphalt. Is there any other questions?
I guess I would just say that, reminder that $220,000 of that money has been raised by the athletic complex committee. There are still a couple other things that we would look at doing up there to improve the facilities also.
But we've got the money in the capital fund to
Correct.
do what we need to do there.
Yep.
This has the structures all in it too.
No, this is just a track, within the current curbs. It was a little higher than what I thought it was gonna be. And then Heartland would do the asphalt, and then they would actually contract either Midwest Tennis or Fisher to do the rubber, lay down and spray anyway.
Used to put the fence in and move the bleachers and set all that. Spray
We
whatever.
just have to decide what that we're gonna do. And that, we started having another conversation about that last week.
So we'll just start construction
So,
fall
just know as they can.
now.
Yeah.
So during the football season, it'll be tore up at some, no,
And it'll be done,
it'll be done.
by,
The fencing, all that,
well, I
bleachers,
don't know, it depends on how aggressive we get with the fencing and stuff, but the track and that'll all be done. And part of the contract was making sure it got reseeded and grass got down.
So can we have a motion to approve the bid from Heartland Asphalt?
I'm sorry, before you do that,
Okay,
I guess I wasn't aware about the high school thing.
was brought to our attention that possibly we might need to look at moving the high school down here in the elementary degree.
That was from public or teachers or?
The, say North Butler School Group had a person in and they had said that to us. So I didn't know what kind of community support there was for that or not, or what was going on. So just maybe something we need to look at.
Either way, like, the track be there.
Yeah.
Even the high school's not there.
Right.
Right.
You've got everything
Right.
set up now. If this is the track that we want, this is the approach.
Just asking the questions.
The bid item number one's a little higher.
Could you speak speak up, please.
Is there an increase in expenses? What happens there?
I don't know if it, I'm assuming some of it's the asphalt price, groundwork, I think that once and the engineer changed some things in the plans. They weren't happy with the original plans, that changed the specifications just a little bit. So we're guaranteed it to last a little bit longer that way.
Motion to approve. Go ahead.
No. Nope, it's just a track.
We still have discussion after second.
So we've got a motion to approve, do we have a second? Or is there any more discussion? More discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed the same? So motion carries. Item 12, approve the special ed contracts.
We just need a official approval to send contracts back and forth with Charles City, Clarksville, Waverly, Shell Rock, and Red Rock for special ed. It's building those move rates.
Pardon, Shelley?
It's open to all students, we go back and forth.
Okay. Any questions on the special ed contracts? Now we need a motion to approve. Second? Scott seconded. All in favor say aye. Opposed the same? So motion carries. Item 13, approve the agreement with NIAC for emergency medical responder course.
About a week, 10 days ago, I was, Mrs. Clark brought some material to my attention that the Green EMS had come to her and NIAC and asked for assistance. And basically what this program is it's an opportunity for our kids to get credit in EMT type things. Green EMS is paying for the classes, and we just need to approve it so that we're able to do it. It's a great program for kids. We had it where I came from before. We actually had kids that would go out and ride in the unit during the day. They'd carry a pager in school, and they would, when there was a call, they would go out and they would help. It was a really nice service because a lot of our volunteers were out on the job during the day, so it gave them extra bodies to have available for the call, and then this way the kids get college credit for it also.
Is there an age that's 18 or 17?
I think 17 and 18.
17 and 18.
So we need a motion to approve the agreement with NIAC for the emergency medical responder course. Second? All in favor say aye. Opposed the same? The motion carries. Item 14, approve the water softener at the high school.
As the board knows, a week or so ago, we had issues with the hot water booster at the kitchen. Part of the problem is that the booster was full of scale line from the hard water. We've been working with Wicks Waterworks about putting a water softener in the line. Put a water softener in just for the kitchen in that unit. It has to be a hot water unit, and it's about $2,600. To put a softener in that will do the full building is like $65.90. Kitchen only was $21.98 with $200 installation charge, and that would just cover that booster unit in the kitchen there. The whole building was $4810 in parts and $1,600 in labor. I guess my recommendation would be to soften the whole building. I think that will extend the lives of our water heaters. We have a water heater go down, those are about $10,000 a piece. My understanding is we've replaced one here in the last couple of years. I think that the $6,500 for the water softener is probably a cheap price to pay to keep things working and not having all them up. And you know, the boiler's getting filled up with that garbage, and those are $200,000 pop. So I would recommend that we do the full building. $65.95.
Any questions on approving the water softener for the whole building? If that's the way you wanna go.
64.
But it's the $65.95 is that.
About 6,600.
What was the difference between those two?
About $4,000. The booster, the hot water booster itself is a $1,500 part, and as soon as we hook it up to a line that isn't softened, the warranty's gone.
Motion for approved purchase for the whole school.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same? So motion carries. And item 15, discuss and approve the one-to-one quote for the 7th and 8th grade from Apple.
We've been talking about making sure that when we move the 7th and 8th grade up to the high school, that teachers don't have to teach the technology in one class and then not in the next. Had Mr. Thompson get a quote from Apple. They broke it up several different ways. Total purchase amount $78,965. Over 36 months, the annual payment would be $27,783.84. Then that would be released with the $1 purchase option per unit at the end. I believe this is 85 units, isn't it, Mr. Huff? This would be a 1-cent sales tax purchase. We currently have a balance of about $1.5 million between 1-cent sales tax and capital. With all the projects that I've put in, that I think that we need to prioritize over the next couple of years, including the track that we just approved. We have a total of about $600,000 in projects when this is included. Granted, there will be other things that come up in that, but that still leaves us a $900,000 balance. So I would recommend that we make this purchase in $78,965 laptops for the 7th and 8th grade next year.
So where would we be at for the iPads? I think that is, I mean, is there enough? I mean, at this point, we don't know what we can do next year.
We'll have to do an inventory and kind of break it down.
We don't get at least half, I would think. Maybe.
We have quite a few.
Probably.
I know there's some of the laptops in the carts are getting pretty dated, and a lot of them are not to the point where they work real great right now. The iPads are,
We still have the old laptops down here that are not Apple.
just for, some for staff.
Okay.
We have the old Apple brick ones that,
Yeah, okay.
We need a motion for approval of the one-to-one quote for the 7th and 8th grade computers. Second? All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same? The motion carries. And then item 16, summer project discussion.
we got a lot of things to look at over the summer. I've started putting some of them into a spreadsheet here, facilities. The costs you see to the side are just, some of them are really a shot in the dark, best guess estimates that I can get. We need to expand the sidewalk out here in front of that, of this building for safety reasons for the elementary kids. We need to make the playground accessible for handicaps, and we need to add a sidewalk out to that playground where it's accessible for our wheelchair-bound students. We'd like to expand the sidewalk at the high school. There are some tuck pointing and repairs that need to be addressed here on this building. We just talked about the laptop expansion and the track complex at the top, of course. We've looked at the possibility of getting video cameras in both buildings, and we're waiting to hear back on that, get some rough numbers. Door security, so a buzz-in system at each building at the main entrances, so we can lock the other doors during the day and have secured access. The key fob entry system is something that we're thinking maybe down the line a little bit. I thought I took the laptop thing out of there twice, and the water softener. Those are the kind of the things that we're looking at. And then we have the storage room behind the high school media center. We'd like to open the wall up there and put an access door and some windows on that, and some HVAC controls in that. And then there's some other little things that we're talking about. But with the board's blessing, I'd like to put some of these out for bid so we can bring them back for bid, bring them back next month. The sidewalks, I'd like to get going on, so we can get that done right after school is out. And the tuck pointing, there's several companies out here that do that.
The sidewalk at the high school, is that all the way around it that you want expanded, or just one side?
Just down where the students park, right, along the east side of the gym. It's,
The way that works is they, all of those ones that head in like that, when the car pulls up to get out of the street, it's about halfway over the sidewalk. So they wanna come down with, and when we get snow and stuff, doesn't leave much room.
Is something else you're thinking about is, doing something with this parking lot?
yes, we are, I'm waiting to get kind of a ballpark idea. I think we need to blacktop that because we need to have the teachers park down there next year and clean the street up. The sheriff's department has asked us to make sure teachers aren't parking here, so we don't have people blocking the street when they're loading and unloading. I do have Heartland Asphalt is working on something, but he just emailed me here before the board meeting and said they want to do a survey before they give us a ballpark on it. Because it's so flat, they want to make sure what they have to do to drain it.
So I guess, is there any reason we shouldn't go ahead with at least getting some bids on these projects?
You need to clean up the stuff behind the bus bar and.
We already started. When we have nice weather in January,
You'll be able to
started.
get rid of that mobile unit.
Yeah. It's gonna be a while before it's dry enough to get back there right
Yeah,
now.
no,
Yeah. He was really anxious to start getting some of that out.
Is there more stuff that we can use for the, like, steel and, I mean, he's been doing that stuff as he sees it to
Yep.
donate to the booster club?
Yep.
Yeah, we need to get that
All needs to be
cleaned
done.
up.
We are storing some football dummies and stuff down there in that portable building, but we can find a better place for that. The mice will tear that stuff up down there.
Right.
So I guess go ahead and get some bids, Mr. Foster, and bring them back to us as you get them. Human resources, personnel recommendations.
We'll do all these together, if that's all right. We have resignation from Pat Larson for junior high football. Krista Crawford to hire as junior high softball coach. Rebecca Moyer as a sub in the kitchen. And Galen Hoosier as a volunteer assistant girls track coach.
This is high school.
Yes.
Crystal's positions covered by the booster club.
Yep.
Hope we get a motion to approve these recommendations.
So,
Second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same? The motion carries. Administrators' reports.
You sure it went right?
Board report, March 2013. Mrs. Wedeking is family emergency type deal. She included her elementary stuff here. Talks about this Wednesday, the K4 students and from Green and K5 students in Allison are gonna attend Old Creamery's production of CharacterRocks.com, and then following the show, they'll join their grade alike classes for activities, lunch, and recess. This is one of the transitional activities that the elementary folks are planning for students to get to know their classmates and to make them feel a little more at ease in being in the building. And the PTO, they wanted to mention that the PTO sponsors the theater visit. We've been doing that for quite a few years. Both schools will be participating in jump rope for heart in grades 2 through 4. Ms. Thompson has always organized this annual event. There's a reading program in the month of March at the Green Elementary tied into the Character Counts pillar on responsibility. Sounds like they'll be doing some dress-up days to add some fun to the program. The two PTOs groups have met, the Green and Allison, had a meeting apparently a week or so ago to discuss how they will begin the process of making one PTO next year. And we're, at all buildings, we're nearing the end of the third quarter, which would be this Friday, and parent-teacher conferences will follow about a week later. Some highlights at the middle school. Each year they've stress giving the maximum effort on the Iowa assessments, and based on the students' efforts this year, they were taken to bowl at freeze frame. A couple different groups kind of rotated around there. The students I talked to and overheard really enjoyed the opportunity. It's not something they all get to do very often. Looking forward to tomorrow night here at the middle school, the 5th and 6th grade operetta will be presenting Joust. Should be a real good show. The students have been working hard, and that's always a big highlight of the year. The Bearcat Bash for 5th through 8th graders is this Friday, 7 to 9. It's a ton of activities in many different rooms, and a lot of students and adults show up to help that go well. Once again, parent conferences are March 24th and 26th. On Thursday, March 26th, up at the high school, we will be hosting an orientation, transition, and MacBook informational event for next year's 7th, 8th, and 9th graders and their parents. Next year's 7-12 staff is currently planning that orientation and the activities that will take place on that evening of March 26th. At the high school, Mrs. Soggy's been doing a really good job. And part of her position here is working second year in a row with at-risk students, and does a phenomenal job working with students, establishing relationships. One thing we're doing is just looking to see, is there what maybe alternative school options we might be able to offer, what would be a good program to do that. And she's been doing some research. She's attended another program and took a lot of notes. She's been to 2 different programs by now and saw how they operate. Something we are interested in as we occasionally have students that would be a viable option. We want to have a plan for that. As that's developed, we would certainly be bringing that to this body for comment, approval, etc. I want to congratulate Dalton Nelson and Caleb Wedeking for qualifying to the state wrestling tournament. Caleb earned a 3rd place finish. He was three-time qualifier, a three-time placer, second, fourth, and third. We had a nice group of about 35 students, grades 7 through 12, who took a bus down there Thursday evening to see the first round action. Friends of Music hosted their annual Dad's Belgian Waffle brunch on Sunday, March 1st, and they've already booked it for next year. That's always a great community event and good fundraiser for the music department. We had 2 FFA students compete at the district level. Jake Goodrich qualified for the state competition in radio broadcasting. Dance team, led by Aaron Drolly, held a dance clinic and dance show this past Saturday at the high school. It was pretty much of a full gymnasium event. Mrs. Drolly does a really nice job with the girls. It's a great opportunity for the girls. Booster Club Winter Sports Awards ceremony will be a week from tomorrow here at the middle school. The Booster Club typically provides a light meal prior to the ceremony. Another great event at North Butler. We moved on to individual speech, and we had 10 students qualify in 16 events for state speech competition. It's March 14th, this Saturday at Starmont. Spring sports, golf and track are underway. Once again, third quarter ends this Friday. We're excited, Mrs. Engelman and Mr. Miller. Mrs. Engelman's kind of spearheaded an option, and we've got 12 student athletes, 6 boys, 6 girls, that are going to go to a leadership conference hosted by AT this month. Again, we talked about the orientation, and you can tell it's getting close to spring and end of the year. Our spring swing show will be held Tuesday, March 31st in the old gym at the high school. Mrs. Holm continues to do a tremendous work for us. The professional development the past few weeks and continuing is really focusing on preparing and getting ready for our building reconfiguration next year. We're excited 39 teachers will be able to attend the one-to-one conference in Des Moines on April 8th. Middle school teachers had some training on teaching digital citizenship and everyday classroom routines. That's important. The TLC, which stands for Teacher Leader Compensation Committee, has begun to meet. We had a speaker come and give us some guidance who was one of the people who steers the AEA, is in charge of, through the AEA, helping people complete and formulate their grants. It's a very good meeting. We have a good group, and we're excited about moving forward with that. Teachers are starting to use the STEM items that were received from the grant that we got, the various grants, STEM grants we got last year. Teachers have been experimenting with a thing called Osmo, which is, says here is creative problem solving, word games, tangram puzzles. Real valuable tool for hands-on and problem solving. And the teachers will be getting the process of peer reviews of each other here from now and the next month or so. A lot going on. That's just kind of a snapshot.
Thank you, Mr. Huff.
I don't have a whole lot new tonight. The legislature is really dragging their feet. The Revenue Estimating Committee meets on March 19th. Nobody believes that they will set supplemental state aid prior to that. Most people believe that it's going to drag out until they run out of per diem in May, and then they'll either set it or just leave us where we're at. Not sure why education has not been a priority. We can pass a gas tax in a week with bipartisan support, but we're on about 400 days since supplemental state aid was supposed to be set for fiscal 16, and that's not done. If you get the opportunity, contact your legislators and let them know that schools need to be funded appropriately. I've been contacting all our legislators that work within our school district at least once a week, mostly through email. Calendar, there's still a partisan battle over the calendar. The Republicans don't want to allow anything prior to August 23rd because that's the end of the state fair. And the Democrats want to just leave us alone and let us have a little bit of home rule, and the governor doesn't like that, so I'm not sure where that's going to go. So we're gonna have to probably decide eventually here whether we want to build 2 calendars or just build 1 statutory start date, which would be August 31st for next year. The remainder of our new buses are supposed to be here the week of the 23rd. The 5 that we got seem to be running well, working well for us. We had one check engine light issue when we first got it. Turned out that was some bad fuel that they put in down south before they brought it north for the cold weather, so it wasn't a big deal. And then, teaching staff assignments went out on February 20th for next year, so everybody got a tentative teaching assignment for next year that will be back this year.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Can I get a motion to approve the administrator's reports? Second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. Next meeting will be Monday the 13th at Green in the media center there.